What is up, geeks of YouTube? I am Damien.
I am Tracy.
And welcome to our fantasy life. Tonight, we are going to be talking about something that's on everybody's minds probably. You're probably not watching this review because you're probably out watching the movie for a second or maybe third time.
Which we should be doing.
Which we should be doing.
Which I suggested.
Avengers Endgame came out tonight.
Yes.
Woo!
We just got back and we had a lot to discuss about it. So this is actually going to be a non-spoiler review to give everyone a good chance in order to go see it.
Yes, and then next week will be our spoiler. Next week will be our spoiler review. So we'll give a full week. Now I know some other review channels like to do it the same day, and then you watch at your own discretion. We're actually just going to postpone ours by a full week because we definitely want to see it again, pick up on some stuff that we might have missed. This movie, for being, well, I guess let's just jump right into the review. Okay, so anyway, spoilers next week. This is our non-spoiler review. We're going to try and stay as spoiler-free as possible. So we're not going to talk about plot. We're not going to talk about characters. We're just going to talk about the movie as a whole, right?
It's going to be so hard.
Well, let's just start with the spoiler then. What was your verdict?
That's a spoiler?
Well, I mean, we're jumping to the end of our review. That's the spoiler for the end of our review. Oh, you want to? Okay, we'll wait on that. No, I want to talk about it. Two thumbs way up.
So good. So what I mentioned to you was, and I mentioned to you guys previously, like everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, Infinity War was the best Marvel's movie ever," right? And I was like, it was alright. Like I wasn't as hyped as most people.
Yeah.
Now seeing Endgame and then seeing Infinity War,
it definitely made Infinity War better.
So much better.
Yes.
It made it so much better.
I agree with you. Now, I didn't agree. I did come out of Infinity War feeling pretty hyped.
Yeah.
I liked Infinity War.
Yeah.
But I think I liked it because it finally showed the Avengers lose, kind of. You know, like every single movie had shown them overcome these insurmountable odds.
Yeah.
And then we finally saw them lose. And I really didn't know how they were going to get out of it. I think that was the biggest thing for me is I kind of did not, and of course there was spoilers and rumors and stuff like that, but we really didn't know how they were going to get out of the situation 100%.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made Infinity War so interesting for me. But you're right, Endgame for me was it was a way better movie overall. Yeah.
I am still so stoked about this. Like, I cannot stop talking about it. The whole drive home, we were discussing things.
Yes.
We were doing our trivia that we normally do. So we're looking up all that and being like, oh, what's all the little...
So much good trivia about this movie.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say, without straying into spoiler territory, every actor and actress that was in this film brought their end game. No, they brought their A game. Every performance in this film was spot on.
So good.
And it was the best version of the character that you would want to see on screen. They did not leave anything on the mat, or whatever the phrase is. They brought everything to this film.
They brought everything to the table.
Yes, that's a great way of saying it. They brought every single acting trick they could bring to really make you feel this movie.
So good. So you feel the ups. There's definitely comedy in here, so they bring some of that back into it.
Yeah.
There's definitely low points where you are going to get emotional. So bring some tissues with you.
Bring some tissues, yeah. There's so many parts where it gets you because they're... And what I feel like it did really well was it capitalized on this legacy of 10 years of Marvel films in a way that didn't feel cheap. It didn't feel like, oh, we have to hit this checkbox and this checkbox. It felt like everything that happens in the film is so natural,
and everything fits into place.
It fits, yeah. That's a great way of saying it. Everything fits into place so neatly. It feels like you are watching, and this is something I said about Winter Soldier, and the Russo brothers do this so well. It feels like you're watching a self-contained story that is also part of a larger story. Yeah, they wrote this film, but then they also managed to fit it into the larger narrative without it feeling like a franchise film.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I see where you're going with that, where everything can be a smaller part of a story, but ultimately it does fit into it. So it's been very well planned out for these past 10 years.
Yeah. And the parts that weren't planned out, they make it seem like it was.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many callbacks to other films. There's so many callbacks to things that even the fans maybe took issue with in previous films. Everything's addressed. This is kind of why we want to do a second viewing before we do our spoiler review. But I felt like every fan criticism of every Marvel film for the past 10 years was either addressed in this film, or they at least mention or like make some note of it.
Yeah.
So I noticed that.
So there are a couple little things that we pointed out with each other that we either wanted to see happen, or things that we were a little not confused about, but things that didn't add up. So I'm trying to stay far as possible away from spoilers.
Yeah.
So we made notes on it. We really want to go see it again just to make sure.
Yeah.
And then that's when we're going to do our spoiler review.
Yeah,
but we already have some things that we found and we're like, oh, what about this? So
there's already questions. And what I liked about this film too is, even though it kind of I don't feel like this is a spoiler. Even though it feels like an ending, it does do some things to set up. I think everyone that is a Marvel fan, as we obviously are, knows about Disney Plus. Yeah. You guys know about a lot of the characters from the Avengers franchise are getting their own films, right? Getting their own film, which I thought was interesting because of what happens in this film. And are getting their own not film. I'm sorry, TV show. They're getting their own TV shows. And then what was the last one? Was it is getting his own TV show?
Yes.
Yeah. So even though you know more properties are coming, even though you know the new Spider-Man is coming out, even though you know another Guardians movie is coming, it never feels like the movie has to set those things up. Even though there are hints at those future franchises, it feels like an ending, but it also feels like, okay, we can keep going with this franchise. Yeah. It doesn't close the door on the MCU or the Avengers by any means, which is what I thought going into it. It's like, oh, this is going to be closed door. That's the end of the Avengers kind of thing. Yeah. What was your take on that?
I was hoping it would continue, so I honestly didn't know where it was going. That's why I think I didn't care for Infinity War so much, because I was like, man, like, how are they really going to recover? And then, I was curious on it, and I tried to stay away from spoilers as much as possible. And then going into it, and having to wait for a full year, and then going into it and seeing everything unfold, like, I'm excited for the next, chapter.
Yes, yeah, that's the other thing this movie did really well, is it made me excited for the future of the franchise, rather than make me feel like, okay, that's done now. You know, I can move on to another franchise. It actually did hype me up for, okay, what's the next step now? What does the Marvel Cinematic Universe look like going forward? Which, I don't know if everyone out there has been following along from Iron Man, from the first Iron Man. But, okay, I can't say that because that's a spoiler. Okay, I don't want to go there. But you'll see when you see the movie, because you probably already have, and when you watch our spoiler review, you'll see what I mean when I say it puts a cap on the MCU while also giving you hope for the future.
Yes.
I guess that's all I'll say. Yeah, I don't want to say too much there. I really want to just do the spoiler review, but you'll see what I mean when you see the last 30 to 35 minutes of the movie. Yeah. Definitely gives you this sense of hope of like, okay.
And also for a 3-hour movie, it did not feel like a 3-hour movie.
It flew by.
It
Absolutely.
did.
Yeah.
Like the whole time you're entertained, everything's just happening and it's over with, and you're like, wait, what? Well,
it's one of the few. Because we've watched some long films before. We watched the extended Lord of the Rings. We've done Harry Potter marathons. Usually, when you're doing those, you're very conscious of the fact that you are watching a movie, right? Where with this film, I looked up and I was like, oh, they're winding to a close. And that was like, what, 2.5 hours? Yeah. And it flew by, where most other films aren't even that long.
Right.
And literally this 3 hours, at the end of the 3 hours, you almost want more. I almost wanted a little bit more of some of the secondary characters, a little more of their arc. I know some of them are getting their own TV shows and stuff like that, but I really wanted to see just a tad more of each one of them, which I never thought I would say about a 3-hour movie.
Right? But the thing about a 3-hour movie, going with me seeing a long movie, I usually get pretty fidgety towards the end where, I'm tired of sitting and my back starts hurting really bad. So I start moving around. I really did not do that throughout the entire movie.
You know why? Okay, so you know why I think that is? I think there was no scene in this film that felt unnecessary. Yeah. That was really interesting to me, because there have been other Avengers movies, there have been other Marvel movies where you're like, all right, I can sneak a bathroom break in here. This is kind of a downtime moment. I'll catch it on the DVD. Yeah. This film, it felt like every scene was handcrafted to be part of the greater narrative. Yeah. So it never felt like there was a moment where the action and when I say action, I just mean the plot. It felt like every scene drove into it felt like a really good book where every word is chosen for a reason.
Yeah.
It felt like in this movie, every scene was chosen for a very specific reason. And every scene kept the movie going into the next scene very fluidly.
Yeah.
So it literally, the time just flew by. It was amazing.
It really did.
Yeah. So, any more to say there in the non-spoiler? I feel like we can't talk too much about it because so much of the movie is spoiled. Literally from like the first 10 minutes, if you talk about the plot at all, there's spoilers right in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's so hard not to say anything.
Yeah.
I want to talk about characters and everything, so we'll have to wait to unload all of that on our actual spoiler review.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything.
I don't want to spoil anything. And really, try to avoid spoil. If you haven't seen this movie yet, by the time this review goes live, this will probably be on Friday morning. Try not to read any spoilers. Try not to read any reviews because you really don't want to spoil this movie for yourself.
Right.
I don't even want to call them twists. Like the plot itself is so satisfyingly written that I wouldn't have wanted to know. Normally, I don't care about spoilers. Like with Force Awakens and all this, I kind of knew some of that stuff before. I do. I don't.
Okay, so Damien's the one that always looks stuff up. I stay as far away as possible.
Hang on, I don't go searching for it. But if I see it, I'm not upset. Because for me, I know I'm going to see that movie 2, 3, 4 times anyway. So I feel
you
like...
spoiled the Star Wars new title for me.
Well, that's everybody knew that. That was in the headlines.
I didn't know that.
But I feel like movies are like a good book. I know I'm going to read that. But like Harry Potter, I know I'm going to read that book 2 or 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So I don't mind if I know one plot detail. I'm more concerned with how do we get to that plot detail.
Yeah. Guess what?
What's that?
Snape kills Dumbledore.
Oh my god. Well, okay, now we got to put spoilers in the title there. Well, spoilers everyone for Harry Potter. Wow. Maybe we'll cut that part out. Jeez. With this particular film, I did care. And I feel like you should too. Turn off the critical part of your brain and just sort of let the film wash over you. And then on your second or third viewing, now we can get into the analysis and the critique and all that sort of stuff. But I feel like this is the perfect send-off to this phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I agree.
Well, we will see you. I feel like not much more we can say. So I feel like we will see you in the spoiler review next week for Avengers Endgame. I know we're a little late to the party on that one. I know everyone's going to be doing them tonight or tomorrow and stuff like that. Really go see the film spoiler-free if you can. Don't click those links. And then wait for our review next week. So we'll talk a little bit more about the plot and some things that we noticed. That there was a couple things we noticed that did kind of stand out to us, but we'll talk about those in spoiler review. So anyway, until then, until next time, I have been Damien
and Tracy.
Thank you for joining us. If this is your first time here, hit that like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Make sure you tag that notify bell so you know when great videos like this go live. And buy our merch. No?
We don't have any merch.
Still no merch?
Still no merch.
Did you guys want to buy any of this stuff? No. Okay, anyway. So I'm being told by my people that there is no merch. Don't ignore the merch. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you down in the comments. Until next time, take care.
Bye.